Jenny, welcome to the Visionary Life podcast. I'm really excited to sit down with you today. I think I was first kind of introduced into your world because we were part of the same business mastermind. And I know you have worked very closely with one of my clients, Dr. Stephanie. And I've just been so interested in the business story behind what you've built. And I know our listeners will be as well. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you. And yeah, this is going to be fun.
It's going
All
to
the
be
business stuff.
awesome. Yeah, let's do the business talk today. So, if you were to introduce yourself today, you would probably call yourself the president of Strong Fitness Mag, founder of Team Strong Girls. You are the host of the Find Your Strong podcast, but I know it wasn't always this way for you. So, can you kind of take us back to your 20s? I know you kind of had a low point. You weren't always this, set on your path and knowing of where you were going to go. So why don't you take us back to your 20s and just kind of give us a rundown of what you were up to in that decade of your life?
Yeah. So, a little over 9 years ago, I started my online coaching business while living in my boyfriend's, now husband's, parents' basement, while working at a laser toner company and teaching bootcamp classes in the evening. So I had very humble beginnings. And I truly believe that strength comes from your struggle. And I mean, I had a few struggles with, just personal struggles with, having an eating disorder and in my teens and my 20s. And I was a personal trainer at the age of 18. And around that time, I actually fainted while I was training one of my clients on the gym floor. And it was that moment. It was like my wake up call, because I knew if I kept on doing what I was doing, I was, under eating carbs, I was overdoing cardio, I was, just doing it all just to get lighter. Right. Mm-hmm. And it was completely making me sick. And I knew that I couldn't continue this way. That's when I decided, to go back to school for holistic nutrition. I started to learn how to eat. I obviously got some therapy, and I learned how to lift weights and focus on getting stronger and not lighter. And mm-hmm. When I did this, I call this finding my strong, because it was just an epiphany in my life. I felt so amazing. I knew so many women were always focused on getting smaller, and I didn't want anybody feeling the way that I had felt. Mm-hmm. That's when Team Strong Girls was born. I was like, I want to empower women. I want to teach women how to lift weights and not to be afraid of food. So Team Strong Girls was born. But again, like I said, it was very humble beginnings. My husband and I both had decided to go back to school at the same time. He was coming out of a marriage, and, he was divorced. So getting back on his feet. So we were both starting out in, pretty much having nothing to our names. And I remember one specific moment, we call this our McDonald's Miracle. We were, McDonald's Miracle. We, had our priorities all wrong. We would go out on the weekends and party. Now looking back, I knew we were probably just trying to run away from our problems. Yes. And one weekend in particular, we were hungover. We were trying to recover, and we had $20 left between both of us. And we decided to go to McDonald's and eat, because we could finally eat. When you're hungover, you don't feel like eating. We're like, okay, let's go to McDonald's. And I call this the McDonald's Miracle because after that, and we realized we literally just spent our last $20. Yeah. We were completely that was our lowest of our low. I remember having to ask my brother for $500 that week just to get by. And that's when we're like, no, this is enough. This is enough. So I decided, I was, doing boot camp classes that night. I decided to offer my boot camp class, like an 8-week challenge at the time, 8 or 12-week challenge, to, offer them nutrition, and, they paid me a little bit of money, but I transformed these people, and I used their transformation as a marketing tool to share stories. And that is what really started my online coaching business. I remember posting those transformations and just getting hundreds of inquiries coming in, and grew our online coaching business within 3 months. I remember looking at our bank account that 3-month mark, and we were making like $35K a month. And all organic traffic, no ads back then. It was just sharing transformation stories. It was sharing stories, tagging them, and then getting their testimonial.
It's so cool because I know a lot of what you do is helping women transform, especially their bodies and the way they eat and the way they train. And I think it's really awesome to hear your transformation story too. Like this time in your life was completely transformational to the woman you've become today, the entrepreneur you've become today. And I think it's really important to actually hear these stories from people that have businesses to know that we don't all know where we're going when we start out in business. Sometimes we just have to do that first thing. And it sounds like for you, it's kind of a combo after the McDonald's moment or the miracle.
The miracle.
Number one, enrolling in school. I think sometimes a decision like that can really solidify, like, I'm putting money on the line. I am changing course here. And something so simple as enrolling in a diploma, a certification, going back to holistic nutrition school, it can really like lead you down a new path. And then I love that the other thing you did was you launched boot camps and started to like take photos of women and say like, let's transform you. And obviously you had a remarkable product. Like the boot camp was working. And it's not like you had this grand master plan, it sounds like, to publish a magazine and to have this huge online coaching business. It just started with running boot camps, and then it started to flourish from there.
Absolutely. And it was just like, I was already doing the boot camp, and it was like, what else could I offer them? Like what else can I offer them so they can actually make a full transformation? And it was when I offered the nutrition side of things and offered like the full programming for them, and then also giving them a little bit more, accountability and motivation with like, okay, we're coming in, we're going to do your before and after photos. And it was that just, just sharing that whole journey was a game changer for me.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people would assume that maybe you had a lot of business or entrepreneurial experience, or you kind of grew up in an entrepreneurial family. Is that true? Like, did you come in with an idea of how to run a business, or how did you learn those skills?
Great question. I didn't know I had those skills, but now that I look back, I think I did. Like my parents had a restaurant. So I grew my dad's family owned a Dutch and Indonesian restaurant. And then my dad and my mom took it over. So we had a family business. I started working there at age 12, like bussing and cleaning, child labor. And then, I worked as a waitress in that family business, and just being around it and seeing my dad like having to renovate it and change it and make it relevant again. And seeing that, I think, affected me. I also ran these, I just remembered this now, actually. I ran these dances at school. Like they were separate dances from the school. And I sold tickets for like $20 with another friend. And I would organize the whole thing and made money doing that. I did like 3 or 4 of them. So I think I always had a little bit of it, but I always wish that I went to school for some formal business training because, after after starting this business and having it grow so very quickly, you're doing what you're great at, but then you don't realize that there's so many other things that come along with it, like taxes and, so that was totally a learning curve that I had to go through. But yeah, that entrepreneurial mindset, I think I was probably born with it. It just took a while for it to actually come out and work.
I think you said in one of your podcasts that I was listening to in preparation for this show that you always felt like you were unemployable in a way. And I totally resonate with that. Like thinking back to how I felt and how I acted in the corporate world, I just felt like I was a misfit and like I didn't want to follow the rules. And I had this little fire in me to like sell things on the side and just like all these character traits that when you reflect back, you're like, maybe I was born with these entrepreneurial tendencies, but then you actually have to like give yourself permission to leap into that and almost have to cultivate that belief that like, I can do something with this, even if I don't know what that big vision is. Like, I'm just going to get started and see what the feedback of my clients is. And they'll tell you what they want next from you. Like your client said, I want nutrition programs now. And you just keep following that path and eventually things start to make sense. So I'm curious, like, what have been some of the other major milestones, like since those boot camps, since you started working with that small group of individuals, what are some other big milestones that have happened along your journey?
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, being able to help a few women actually throughout their cancer
Wow.
has been huge. One woman in particular, her name's Jackie, and she's from San Francisco, and she was one of my first clients. And she had breast cancer, and she had all sorts of different side effects from the medication, and she just wanted to feel better again. And when I started coaching her and changing her nutrition protocol, she started to feel better again, and she could cope with all of those, side effects from the cancer meds. And we became such close, dear friends. She's still, like, I call her the heart and soul of our community, because she's the first person to welcome someone, to make them, she'll send gifts. Like, she's just an angel on this earth. And she's had a few other health scares, along the way, with a brain tumor and all this. And, she's just it's an honor to have coached her or still coaching her. And a few other women actually that have experienced, cancer, and trusting me to help them along the way. For business wise and for my own personal brand, like Strong Fitness Magazine, having that opportunity to take over and become president and really give a platform to share even more of our stories for our clients and to help more fitness professionals become visible. So that was a huge one. We actually, my husband and I took it over just more than a year ago. So that was quite a big step in our professional career. And then just getting recognized, and being on fitness magazines. And not only that, it's when you are recognized like that, you're able to help more people. And I always like to say to my girls, because when we're coaching, we always try to get them to do like a photo shoot in celebration of themselves, because I think women just don't celebrate themselves enough. And instead of looking at it like, oh, is this too much? Look at it as like aspire to inspire. When you put yourself out there and you share your story, you're going to help someone. Even if it's just one person, you're going to help somebody to make that first step.
It's so true, because a lot of our listeners are in the coaching industry like you are. And the moment they start to crack open a bit and share more of their personal journey, even their struggles, like you've shared, you went through some challenging times, it allows people to really connect with you and to find some sort of common thread that they go, oh my God, I'm dealing with that too. And then when it's time for them to look for somebody to hire or somebody to work with, they're going to go with the person who they feel most understands them and that they most relate to. So every little thing that you feel comfortable sharing in promotion of your business, I think is actually a really great point of connection to your audience, whether it's sharing that you have a dog or, sharing that your kids are sick or sharing that you've gone through struggles with your eating or training or whatever it is. It just like gives people permission to also open up to you. And I think because obviously in the coaching industry, people need to trust you. It's just a way for them to really get a better perspective of who you are and why they should trust you. So I think that's quite remarkable.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel like as a coach, a lot of people look up to you. They might not think that you're human too. And when you break down those barriers and share like real human experiences, it helps you connect for sure.
So you've shared some of the high points and milestones over how many years have you been doing? Like since the boot camps, how long has it been?
Oh, okay. So I became like this is a long journey. I'm actually going to be 40 next year. I can't even
Woo!
believe that.
Hell yeah. Celebrate. I hope you have a trip booked.
Yeah, we're working on that. But
Good.
so yeah, so when I started the boot camps, we started the business in 2012 and I was doing boot camps like a couple of years, like on the side for 2 years before that. And I was a trainer since age 18. So I
Okay.
was like on and off training, I did have some corporate jobs too. And
Mhm.
of course my job of selling laser toners as well, but I would
Yeah.
always do training on the side and sort of boot camps on the side. So I had always done boot camps as more of a side hustle, but
Mhm.
my actual business started in 2012.
Okay. So you've been at this almost a decade, which is
Mhm.
incredible.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
shared some of the highs that have happened. I'm curious, was there ever any lows or times when you dipped or moments when you're like, I don't know if this is going to work? And if
Yeah.
so, like, would you want to share one of those?
Yeah. So I started back in 2012, as I said, and that's when Facebook was super friendly. I
Yes.
would put up a transformation story before and after of one of my clients. I'd share a story, and I would have at least 15,000 to 20,000 people that landed on that actual post. I would
Mhm.
have comments. I would have like tons of DMs after just posting one of those. Now, Facebook is social media. The algorithms changed
Yeah.
1 year. I think it was 2015 because I just had Jackson. I had my first son. And my husband and I were noticing, okay, we're not getting the love on anymore. Like we were noticing
Mhm.
very little inquiries when we posted something. We did not know anything about email marketing.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, something's got to change. He started doing some research with business coaches. We signed up with Bedros and Craig Ballantyne at the time.
Okay.
And so they were teaching us like how to actually like, they're like, do you have any emails? And we said, yeah, I'm like, we have emails. They're like, oh no, like an email list that you like email. And we're like, what is
What are you
that?
talking about?
Because we literally just had all organic traffic, but like social media, and as we know, like algorithms changed, it just wasn't working anymore. So we had a dip in the business, and we were scared, and we're like, I don't know if we can actually continue to do this. But my husband is very proactive and willing to change super fast, and that's why we did everything we could to learn about email marketing. We started, building that gift for our audience. And then we started capturing emails and
Yeah.
talking to them on email, also showing up on social, but, an email list, as we all know, we own that. Those are people that actually want to hear from us, and
Yeah.
that, we'll see what we have to say, whereas it's sort of hit or miss with social media.
Mhm.
Um, so that was troublesome. But after we got that up and going, the business started to pick up again,
Yeah.
thankfully. Mhm.
Mhm. I think the whole topic of coaching is super interesting because oftentimes we look at business owners and we're like, they just figure everything out. But behind that is usually we're here, we recognize a problem, and we're like, we need to be investing in ourselves as entrepreneurs, just as we expect people to invest in us as their fitness coach, right? Have you continued to be a believer in the power of coaching? And, when you are feeling like maybe you're coming to a halt in your business, what do you do to kind of get over that stagnancy and continue growing and evolving?
Yeah, great question. So we ever since that first mastermind, we had joined a few masterminds after that.
Yeah.
I think it's super important, especially if you're a business owner and especially if you're online, because it
Yeah.
can feel pretty isolating. Not a lot of friends and family understand what you do at all. Maybe more so a little bit now, but still, like they don't have that full understanding, and you can feel alone, and you can also feel a little stuck. Like thankfully my husband and I are doing the same thing, and we can often talk to each other.
Yeah.
But we do, you do need that community. You do need that support. You need that accountability as well. And you need I feel like you need that third person to run ideas off of. And so that's where we met you in the Archangel community with Giovanni. And we've been working with him ever since. We do some one-on-one coaching with him, and we are most likely going to be joining the council next year, which we're super excited about. Yeah. So we are firm believers, and every coach needs a coach. You need to have that because you need to grow. You need to keep evolving and growing. And the only way to do that, I feel, is to have that guidance and coaching.
Absolutely. And I remember hitting a similar spot a few years ago. Like, I was working at an office in Toronto by myself, and I was like, yeah, like, yay, my business is taking off. Things are great. But I looked around me and I was like, I have nobody to really celebrate this, or to, when I'm having a bad day, to call and be like, how are you navigating this right now? And I felt so alone. And that was the moment I realized I'm not part of an entrepreneurial community right now. And it's something that now I make sure that I continue to invest in that and continue to put myself in the room of people who are going to keep me sane, who are going to push me to be better, to grow. So I love that you guys prioritize that and are continuing along that journey.
Yeah. And it's not only that, it's connection too, and other possibilities for your business that you might have not even realized until you're in a room with people that, you can do things with, there's ideas that are always sprung. So look at us right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. So I want to actually crack open marketing a little bit. You're talking about, Facebook used to work really well, organic social media, and then you launched your email list. Inside of your business right now, what's working really well in terms of growing your community and staying visible and continuing to elevate your presence, whether it's for the magazine, for your personal brand, your coaching community? Like, what's working in the marketing world for you specifically at this moment?
Great question. So when Facebook started to go a little wonky at that time, I decided to also open up a private Facebook community. And our private Facebook community, we will let you in if, you're a client, or if you're like a friend of a client. Like, it's a closed community. Smart. But it's got a life of its own. It's really amazing. Like, I do my best to go in there, and I do have other coaches now, but just the relationships and just the relationships that have been built on there and just from our clients have been amazing. Like, people help each other out. They do meet separately. And it's just awesome, that community. And I feel like that's one of the things that sets us apart is our community. We often ask our clients at the end of their transformation, what did you love most? And they've all said the community and the Facebook group. So that's been working really, really well. Also the email list. So, really nailing down a good gift to give your audience and invite them into your world. And so the team Strong Girls is really known for doing a celebration photo shoot at the end. So I often get women coming and asking, how do you do your first photo shoot? Who do I contact? Like, what's the process? So we've really nailed down a great gift to share with your audience, like how to make your first fitness photo shoot a success. And so we're talking to the right people, the people that I want to work with, the people that my coaches want to work with. So that's working really well. My stories on Instagram, they pull pretty good. So I show up quite frequently on my stories, and consistency. I'm very consistent on Instagram and still my Facebook page as well. Yeah. Those are the two platforms that I just am consistent on. I have not yet gone to the TikTok world. And YouTube videos here and there, but I'm more consistent on Facebook and Instagram and stories.
Mm-hmm. And I think that word consistency is so important. Like, you don't have to be on every single platform, but if you choose a couple, like Instagram stories, like Facebook, and just do them on a regular cadence, that's way more important than spreading yourself so thin. So because I know you're quite consistent on your Instagram stories, do you have any tips to offer for how to be consistent? Like, how do you know to show up every day? Is it just natural to you at this point, or what gets you going to film a couple minutes of your day every single day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I I'm just sort of I've just started doing it, and I love connecting with my audience there.
Yeah.
So I like to ask questions. I, often say, message me, DM me. So we have that conversation there. I love doing polls on my Instagram because I think that's a really great way to get to know what your audience wants from you, wants to see from you. Um, and I feel like it's fun. It's fun for me because it doesn't have to be so curated. I mean, my feed's not really that curated. I do photo shoot photos because that's sort of my business, but I
Yeah.
try to put like uncurated stuff of just like my family and I, but I love how stories can just be like in the moment, and it's
Yeah.
just really easy. And I feel like I don't really care. And that doesn't sound it doesn't sound
Yeah.
good, but I don't really overthink it, like I just go for it and
Mhm.
put it out there.
I love that. And it's obviously because you've found a marketing outlet that feels fun and light to you. Like
Mhm.
some
Mhm.
people, they're trying to be on Instagram stories, but they're like, every time I pull out my phone to film myself, it just feels heavy and off and I have nothing to say and nobody's engaging. And it's like, well, maybe that's not the platform for you. But if it
Yeah.
feels fun and you're kind of like, yeah, I can just like talk to my people and ask them a question, like that's what you want to double down on because it just flows. And I think people can
Yeah,
feel when there's that, light energy around it versus I have to show up because somebody told me to post 3 minutes a day on stories. Like that energy
totally.
radiates through the screen.
Yeah, totally. I love how it's just so quick and I can just do it in the
Yeah.
moment. And that's what I love. And I feel like when you're a mom and you're a businesswoman, you appreciate those quick things that you can,
Yeah.
serve and get your message out there, and you don't have to, think about all the post production. It's just super quick and easy to get out there.
hmm So at this point, you guys are doing the magazine full time. You've also just launched a what I'll call like train the trainer program. I believe you're certifying people in the strong formula.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because we have a lot of just like holistic enthusiasts who listen to the podcast who might be interested. What is this strong formula? Who is it perfect for?
Yes. So my husband and I have developed the Strong Formula Certification Program. It's a 12-week certification for trainers and health professionals on how to take your client through a successful body transformation. So we have our nutrition methods or training methods, and then also a marketing component as well.
Wow.
So we deal with a lot of trainers that have been either on the gym floor and they really want to take their business over to online. So we help them transition there. A lot of my clients, that have received have gotten amazing results and they showcase their before and afters. They have a lot of people asking them what they did,
Yeah.
and it's become a love and passion for them. So a lot of them have taken this course to help them start.
Mhm.
So we've done our first pilot program. We just finished and wrapped up. It was a great success. We coached 31 trainers, and
Wow.
we are going to be launching another one end of January, another cohort.
hmm So why did you start with like a pilot program? Like, was it just to kind of like test out the method and see? I think the listeners, like a lot of them are keen to launch some sort of program that teaches their expertise. What's the, I guess, reasoning behind a pilot versus just going all in and being like, we're here?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. A pilot program, and this was, Geo actually taught us how to do this because
Yeah.
you think you might know what people want,
Yeah.
but you don't really know until you ask, right? And a pilot program allowed us to, once we offered this to just our community, we were so surprised that everybody wanted in on it, first of all.
Yeah.
And then when we started to ask, like, what did you want to know most? And we were just going to do like it based on marketing, but a lot of them wanted to know actually how we transformed physiques, like how we did it. So
Yeah.
that's when we were like, okay, so we'll teach how we give out the nutrition or how we program basically the nutrition and training. So we went into, and we wouldn't have done that. Like if we didn't ask, we wouldn't have done that. We're like, everybody needs marketing advice, but they wanted to know actually our methods and how to transform somebody.
Yeah.
And even just the questions that you get per session, you can pivot. If they were asking so many questions about, email marketing. So we had Geo come on and teach, we were giving them what they wanted. And that's the beauty about a pilot program. You can sort of mold it.
I love that.
And see where it takes you.
Mm-hmm. So smart, because we could sit in our office and assume we know what clients need from us, but one of the easier things to do, and probably a surefire way to make sure you're serving up what they need, is to get in conversation with these 30 people and let them know, like, this is the first cohort. You don't have to hide it and pretend this has been like an established program, but to say, come on in, like, we're going to teach you what we think you guys need, and you're going to co-create this with us. And then, we'll modify it and we'll show up big for you. And so you can kind of create excitement around a beta or a pilot versus feeling like, oh, nobody's going to trust us if we're, running this for the first time. So I think that's really cool, and obviously going to be a huge arm to your business, I'm sure, in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And my husband he's super proud about it too, because he's sort of been in the back end of it. Okay. It's always been me. And I'm like, no, you got to come to the forefront now. So it really is something that, we built, he built, and now it's our thing to, and we just feel like we're in the position to help trainers now. We are so sick of seeing trainers that are so, knowledgeable, but they just don't know how to grow the business. And we want to help them become successful living their passion in that way, and not having it to be a side hustle or nobody taking them seriously. That's our big mission.
Absolutely. And I love that. And it all ties into kind of your greater vision, right? Of like promoting that strong brand. So thinking about everything that you do, like, there's a lot going on. So I'm curious, how do you manage your time? How do you allot time in your work week to all of these projects? Because these are kind of like multiple things that you have, and they all tie up into the same brand. But like, how do you make sure you don't burn out? And what are your secrets for managing your work week?
Yeah, it's been a big year of transition for us, especially after taking over the magazine and having to get super organized and having really important conversations of like, what don't we want to do anymore? What doesn't make us feel like, doesn't light us up anymore? And we actually have to do this every month. And it's like writing down a list of things that like, I don't necessarily have to do. Like, I can hire some team members to do it that would love to do it. So it's been a lot of team building this year and trying and, having a great assistant, and then having great coaches to depend on, having a marketing team, like just everybody working synergistically together. And I told this to Vince, I'm like, I feel like we're just like managing people now. And it's true. Like, that's what we're doing. We're managing people, but the people are the most important aspect of your business, So it's finding people that align with you and your beliefs in your business, and finding the right people. And you might be just starting your business, so it might be hard for you to maybe pay for that, but there are ways to maybe, trade services or something like that, so you can get that help. But it's really been help. That's really the underlining theme of this year, has been more help and building a team that can keep me organized and can keep the business running, and that we don't always have to be in it.
Yeah. My gosh, I feel like that is a really challenging spot to be in, when you have to stop kind of doing so much of what you love, which was the training, right? Like, I'm sure, you had weeks full of coaching clients and one-on-one training sessions and that, and then to have to remove yourself from a lot of that and say, I can't be the one doing this anymore. We need the coaches to do that. And now I need to empower the team to take over what I once did. Did you have any trouble letting that go, and any tips for, like getting things off your plate so you can focus on the higher vision?
Yeah, it was definitely a transition for sure. Um, and my tip would be to just try it out, like
Right.
to trust people,
Mm.
you're never, yeah, it really is, because as a person who did everything and as an entrepreneur, when you're first starting out, like you're basically doing everything and you do it your way. And then you just have to learn how to sort of give that up and trust and try it out and test. Like everything's a test, right?
Yeah.
And giving, like testing it out and knowing that it's, not 100%, but knowing that, if you're giving a person, can we just pause for 1 second?
Yes,
Sorry.
of course.
My dog is.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Hold on. So I can imagine that it was super challenging for you to actually shift out of doing your craft, which was training people and doing a lot of that one-on-one work and actually being the one that runs all the programs, to now being more behind the scenes, or, doing more of the high level vision stuff. I'm curious, how was that transition for you? And any tips for somebody who's currently going through that, knowing they need to kind of remove themselves from some of the day-to-day tasks to focus on the high level stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's all about letting go and also learning how to teach what you do. So
Right.
that was a really huge transition for me because, when you're so in it for so long, you started the business on your own, all the little details, but now it's time to teach someone else it. So it's having that system in place where you can actually take the time and teach someone else. Like essentially I had to think about, what I wanted my life to look like in, a couple of years from now. And I have two young boys,
Yeah.
2 and 6. I want to have time with them. I
Mhm.
want my husband to have time with them. So it's like, I can't physically be doing everything and still have time with my family. And so that priority for me was number one.
Mhm.
So it's just shifting into that, like being okay with letting go, and it's practicing that
Yeah.
and finding the right people. As I said, finding the right people and taking the time with that person. I
Mhm.
think at the beginning when I was doing this, I just sort of expected them to like go with it, and no,
Yeah.
you have to actually take the time and train the right people.
And I love that you say, like, trusting that they can do it, and
Oh, yeah,
probably better than you can, and devoting that time to teaching others so that you don't feel like you're the only one with this knowledge and that you're the only one who can teach the method. Like, there are other people who would be so excited to learn from you and who
Mhm.
are probably going to be even more enthusiastic than you could be, to be able to teach your method forward. So I think that's
Absolutely.
really cool. And obviously a huge transition in becoming more of an entrepreneur, managing a team. But I think in order for you to reach that goal of spending more time with your family, with your kids, being able to focus just on the things that really require you, is going to give you so much freedom in the long term. So it's really cool to see
Absolutely.
how the business is progressing that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not always smooth sailing. I'm not going to lie. Like sometimes you just don't find the right fit and you have to start from scratch, and
Mhm.
you asked this question before, what do I draw from sometimes? And it was my past experience with my parents. I saw them running the restaurant. I saw them trying to step away and finding the right person. And often those people would steal. And so they would be scared and they'd have to go back into working in the restaurant. They never had time to grow the business. And I see that now and I'm like, I don't want to be like, I use the analogy, I don't want to still be serving tables like as my
Yeah.
parents were doing, because they didn't have time to grow.
Mhm.
And the only time you can really grow is if you take that step back and you allow yourself that time to dream and plan and be the person that is motivating the team to do
Mhm.
all of the stuff that you used to do.
Mhm.
And you're right, they probably do it better.
Totally. And so now you are working full time with your husband. You guys are both leading these teams. How do you find it working with your loved one, your partner, your husband, your, baby daddy? Like, how is that? Is it challenging? Have you guys found any ways to, make it easier and make it, the best ever? Like, give us the juicy scoop on how it is.
Yeah. So I absolutely love working with Vince. I feel like he feels the same. It's because we just understand each other.
Yeah.
And it's also funny enough, passion, like it's passion too. Like
Yeah.
it translates, like you're so passionate about, all the ideas, the business, and it translates into your relationship too.
Yeah.
It does get sometimes challenging with the cutoff time, especially with the kids, like when the kids are around and then he starts talking to me about work and he wants my full attention and they're screaming, mommy, mommy, mommy. So I've told them, I'm like, you cannot talk about work when the kids are around anymore, just because so much coming at me. Right.
So much.
So we do have to have like firm boundaries, putting our phone away at a certain time so we can really be present with our two boys and be present with each other. But I absolutely love working with my partner. And I feel like when you have the same passion, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Makes your relationship better.
I think that's so awesome and really cool that you guys are able to build this company together. So very aspirational, I'm sure, for a lot of other couples who are building their business together. In wrapping up, I'd love to ask you, you're busy, you're a mom, you're running this business. When you reach the end of the work week or, work week, as entrepreneurs, we're always kind of on, but how do you unwind? How do you de-stress? How do you take care of yourself to make sure you can show up Monday morning feeling that passion again?
Yeah, good question. So it's not so much end of the week for me. It's more like daily. So
Daily.
it is really daily. I mean, the weekends right now are chaos because I have a 2-year-old. So it's not really like you cannot unwind.
So relaxing.
There's no relaxing. And he's like one of those crazy 2-year-olds. So, but it is daily. So I will schedule my workout at like 8:30 in the morning to 9:30. And that's my time. And
Amazing.
I'm blessed to have built like a full gym in the basement, and I go down there and I train, I listen to a podcast, I'll listen to music. I also will cut out some, self-care time, get my nails done every other week, and just time where I'm like out of the house doing something for me. I feel like that's super important.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then a really good bedtime ritual. I'm like a little crazy about sleep because I need sleep. I feel like every woman feels this way, but you need sleep to just function good the next day. So I make sure I go to bed at a decent time. And if I'm ever having one of those stressful weeks or a stressful day, I always go to bed earlier, and it usually solves the problem.
Oh man, I totally agree. And now with it being darker, I'm like, can I sneak into bed at like 8:30? Yeah. Is that wrong?
I like go around, I turn all the lights down in the house. My husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, we need to turn the lights down. We need to prepare ourselves for bedtime. And he's like, you are crazy. I'm like, no, it's helpful. Everybody's going to sleep better.
I totally agree. Got to block out that blue light, right?
Yeah.
Now I know in final, I said last question before, but I have one last question for you because I know that in your 20s, you felt like you had a lack of purpose. And today I can see that you really do feel like you have that purpose. You know what you want to create. Do you have any tips for the listener who is tuning in, feeling like they haven't quite found that thing? They don't feel like they found their calling. They're in a job they dislike. Like, any advice for that person who just feels like they don't know what they're meant to do on this earth?
That's such a great question. I feel like there's a lot of business people out there just saying that you need to know your why and you need to know your passion. But I believe that you're not going to know your passion unless you try different things.
Yeah.
So it's like, just start doing something that you're interested in. Yes. Do it messy. Don't wait for the perfect time, because there's never going to be a perfect time. Take action steps towards that thing. See if you like it. If you don't like it, be okay with letting go and trying something else, because you're never going to know unless you don't try.
It's so true. It's like doing nothing is not going to lead you
Yeah.
closer to finding that thing, but taking action is often what produces that clarity moving
Hmm.
forward. So
Hmm. And
that's
don't be so hard on yourself if you don't know your passion, like
right.
you don't have to know it. You just got to be okay with trying different things.
Yeah. Amazing. Jenny, this has been so much fun. Thank you for,
Thanks, Kelsey.
running us through your entire journey. And I'm sure we could have chatted for hours, but in the meantime, if people want to know more about your story, the magazine, the Train the Trainer program, working with, the Strong Girls community, where are the best places for them to go and find you and learn more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my podcast. It's called the Find Your Strong podcast. And, it's all on all the platforms. I also have my website, www.coachjvb.com. We have strongfitnessmag.com. I can actually give your listeners a code to get a subscription to the magazine if you want. And you can include
Amazing.
that.
We would love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And then on Instagram, it's coach_JVB or Strong Fitness Mag.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll link all of that in the show notes. And yeah, we really appreciate you sharing your journey and all of the best in the future.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. This was awesome.